Okay, gang, here we go. Week 8, last week of class. This is when your capstone assignment is due. You have a quiz and one last reflection, and then we will be all finished. You guys have been a great group. I've really enjoyed the discussions. Just really smart class. Sometimes you get one of those classes that just everyone seems to just be really, raising the standards, and you guys have been one of those groups. So I want to thank you. It's been a very enjoyable experience, and I hope that you've taken something away from this, that you've enjoyed the course, and all that good stuff. So I apologize if you end up hearing my dogs in the background. It's pouring rain outside, and they're both sitting next to me with a little bit of cabin fever. So if we start to hear some puppy wrestling, just ignore it. Okay, so let's look at what we've got going on this week. First of all, I want to draw your attention to this right here. This week, all assignments are due no later than day 5 at 11:59 p.m., which means they are due by Friday. So keep that in mind. That's because our courses end on a Sunday night at midnight. Final grades are due on Monday at 4 p.m., which means we have less than 24 hours to do your final grades, which means we need a couple extra days. So if I had all your work due Sunday at midnight, it wouldn't give me very much time to actually grade your capstone projects, all that good stuff. So keep that in mind. I'm highlighting that here. So no later than day 5, which is Friday at midnight. Okay, you have a relatively quick lecture. It's all titled Getting Out There. So the lecture slides are here, the link for it as well. Your quiz, final quiz. I will tell you that on this quiz, you need to complete your course evaluation prior to taking the quiz. You will be asked for proof of completion. So what you can do is take a screenshot of the completion page, or you can print it as a PDF and submit it as an attachment. I don't need to see your actual course eval because those are anonymous, of course. So this is just so that I can prove that you did in fact do it, because they are incredibly important to us. We do always read them. We always read the feedback, and we apply it as much as we possibly can to make the courses better, so that we can, give you a better online learning experience. So just a really short list of vocabulary, kind of a fun lecture, some cool stuff going on this week, and it's not terribly long. Your artist of the week is free to follow. There is no Q&A. I've included, I know you probably won't have a lot of time this week since you're doing your capstone projects, but just for the sake of enrichment, and if you want to come back to it at a later date, a really good documentary called The Life and Times of Frida Kahlo for you to watch. And if you do get a chance to watch this, I would want you to consider how Kahlo created groundbreaking art that considered the inner world of the artist as it had never been done before. So how does her art consider or kind of, cause us to get out into the world and explore what makes us human? Okay, so your reflection is you're going to rewrite your What is Art paper that we did during week 1. So go back, take a look at that, see if you agree, if you disagree, and then, write your experience and how maybe that definition has changed. So again, this is a journal entry, just 1 to 2 quick pages. You don't have to do more than that. And I'm hoping that your idea of what art is has evolved somewhat through the last 8 weeks. Okay, and then of course the big one, our capstone project, which is our museum review. So you want to go ahead and download this attached PDF, and it looks like this. This is going to have all the instructions for this assignment. At this point, you've already read through this. As I said in the last week's announcement, make sure that you kind of go and take a look at this. Hopefully you've already done your museum visit at this point. If you've saved it to the last minute, get going on it, because you do have a 5-page paper, double-spaced to write, 12-point font. Make sure you include a title page, name, title, class, date, and your paper should be formatted according to either MLA or APA. I don't care which one you use, as long as you pick one and you're consistent throughout the paper. You're to visit an established art gallery or museum for this assignment, and I've included suggestions at the bottom. You must provide proof of attendance. This could be an image of a ticket stub or a current museum pamphlet. The paper is going to include 2 parts. So the first part, you're going to be documenting your experience of the visit. So I want you to imagine that you are an art critic for a weekly magazine with an educated but non-specialist audience. So, you can expect them to know a little bit about art, but, still you're educating them about this experience. So you have been asked to write a review And your task is to inform a would-be audience about an exhibition and to provide some context for it. So remember, we spent a lot of time on this idea of context. To achieve this, you need both to describe and critique the exhibit and its rationale. So critics tend to write from their own background, so feel free to bring in things you have learned in class or from your own readings. Also, feel free to mention when the exhibition confirms something you've learned elsewhere and when it challenges it. So I want you to start by considering the exhibition's arrangement as representing someone's conscious creation, because someone curated this. Everything was done for a reason, from the lighting to what was arranged next to what, to the wall color, traffic patterns, didactic statements on the walls. So, you know, when you see writing on the walls, it's information. Museum pamphlets, all of this has been very carefully considered to, you know, help educate the viewer in a certain way. So be very conscious of your reactions to the display. So questions you will want to consider in this section, and you don't necessarily have to consider all of these. I'm just giving you, you know, something to go off of. So what seems to be the premise for the exhibition? What aspects seem to matter most to the gallery or museum? How does one room relate to its neighbor? Does each room tell its own story? What can you learn about the art of a specific historical period by seeing original works on display in a museum setting? What sorts of works are included? What media and techniques are represented? Maybe there are didactic statements on the wall. Maybe there's film clips throughout the exhibition where you can go and sit down and watch a movie about the artist. Maybe there's audio tours that you can do. So do you have a sense of why different media are used for different purposes? About how different media relate to one another? So be conscious of your experience in visiting the rooms. How do you feel in the exhibition? What is the role of the surrounding in your experience? So is learning an important part of the museum experience? How did you learn? How would you evaluate the labels, wall text, gallery guides, if any, or materials available elsewhere in the museum? Do these represent the best way to provide such information? What other alternatives might there be? Would you provide other kinds of material in other formats? Does the museum or exhibition present a specific worldview? Could the content be used to promote a biblical message? Does it try to detract from a biblical message? So these are all things I want you to kind of be considering as you are evaluating this space. So then the second part, you're going to explore and analyze a work of art of your choice. So this is where we're going to use Panofsky. So you're going to select one work of art that you find particularly interesting and include the following. So you're going to do the 3 levels of analysis. So our primary level, again, is what do you see? What is the content of the work? This is the what. The conventional level was the who, the when, the where. Include also a formal analysis, and we can do formal analysis in the primary level as well. So in either the primary or conventional, make sure you're including, you know, some vocabulary describing color, line, space, texture, etc. I want you to use a minimum of 5 unique elements of design. How is the artist using these elements to convey an emotional response? And of course, the most important is the intrinsic level, the why. This level will require you to do some outside research. So why did the artist create this work, perhaps? What were they trying to accomplish? Are there any historical, social, political, personal circumstances that influenced its creation? Further consider the worldview of the artist and how this work could be considered, could or could not be used to confirm a Christian perspective. So you must include at least 2 unique sources for this research. The museum's website may have information on this piece. You may not use Wikipedia, please. Your research should be from responsible, respectable sources. As a rule of thumb, museum and academic websites are most appropriate. If it's not an academic site, be sure there is an author's name present as well as citations. You need to know where they are getting their information, right? So the Met Museum site on Vincent Van Gogh is an appropriate source. So let's take a look at that. I've included a link for you. So this is what the Met's site looks like. So this is the Heilbrunn timeline of art history. We know that the Metropolitan Museum of Art is a legitimate source for information already. And they usually include citations all at the bottom of their page, so we can see all this further reading, citations, all that good stuff. So they've cited their, research here. And so this is, this is a good source. So we've got, all these different pieces of work by Van Gogh. So we're looking good there. So if we look at VanGoghGallery.com, which I've had students use this website many, many times, and it says, thanks for making us the #1 Van Gogh site on the web. Oh, this must be a great site. It seems so legitimate. And they have a gallery, and they have, his paintings and his biography, and, his sketches and his watercolors, and there's biographical information, and there's also a lot of advertisements, and there are links to other places on their site. But notice there's no author's name. There's no citing any research. So I'm not saying that all the information that you would find on a website like this is incorrect, but we just want to be careful because it's not cited. So we don't really know where their information is coming from. So that would give you an example of a site that is, authentic, that is citing their research, that's being responsible, and a site that's, kind of more for fun, but not really appropriate for academic research. So I hope that makes sense to you. So be considering that as you're picking your sources. Okay, so make sure that you include the image of your chosen artwork. This could be either a photograph of it, the work that you've taken yourself when you do the museum visit, or from an appropriate online source. Your image must include proper citation. We've been working on proper citations throughout the last 8 weeks, and some of you are still not quite there. So remember, we want the artist's name, the name of the artwork, which should be in italics, the date it was created, the medium, and the source, which is the full web address if using an online source. So if you took the image, you can just put, photograph taken by, and then put the date. Your paper should have a well-informed introduction and conclusion, so don't just drop off at the end of Panofsky's intrinsic level and not, tie the whole paper together, so make sure we're doing that. Do not think of me as your reader, but someone who you are educating on this material, and please do not write in first-person narrative voice. That means no me or I. This is a formal academic paper, so it's okay to have an opinion, and of course, this is a review in a way, and so you're going to be talking about your experience, but do this in a more formal way, so no me or I. So here's a list of accepted museums or galleries that you should be aware of if you haven't gone and visited a museum yet. Ask me if it's not on the list, and I will let you know if it's a good place to go or if it's not quite going to work for the purposes of our class and our paper. So if you have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to ask me. The other thing I want to make you aware of is if you go into the capstone project, you'll notice that there is a rubric, so you can view this rubric. And this is going to show you how I break down the paper, what exactly I'm looking for. So it goes from exemplary, accomplished, developing to beginning. And it's going to talk about formatting and organization, so how many points I score. So there's a maximum of 10 points you could get for formatting organization, maximum of 10 points for your works cited, 5 points for your proof of attendance, 5 points for your artwork citation, making sure you're citing that work properly, 10 points for your introduction, and then of course the bulk of the paper, we've got 50 points for documenting the experience, 50 points for the Panofsky portion of the analysis, and then 10 points for your conclusion. So make sure you read through this because you'll have a better idea of what it is that I'm looking for in the paper and how I'm going to be graded. I will be using the rubric to do your grading. And that's what we've got going on this week. So again, last week, you guys are almost through. You've done an excellent job. You've been a great class. Don't forget that everything is due Friday this week. That's really, oops, second, took me back on accident. So that is day 5. When it says day 5, our classes begin on a Monday, which is today. Day 5 is Friday at midnight. You have, again, your last reflection where you're rewriting the What is Art paper, the capstone project, and the quiz. And I can tell you that the quiz this week, 10 points of that quiz is for doing the course eval. So the quiz is quite simple this week, really. I'm giving you a lot of credit just for doing that course evaluation because they're so important. Thank you again. Let me know if you have any questions at all, and have a great week, everyone.